Did you hear that? It's 2 a.m. and you hear something in the walls clanking around. Is it a ghost? Is it a raccoon? Most likely, you've got a mouse infestation. Today, we're going to go over why mice are there, why they're in your walls, and how to get rid of them. Hey everyone, Uncle Ben here from Pest Protection Plus. And today we're talking about mice that are in your walls. People often hear scratching, gnawing, even sometimes squeaking, and it's extremely common. They get in and they nest in there, and if you don't address it, it can cost you thousands of dollars to clean it up properly. Today we're going to go over exactly what it sounds like, how to identify it, and tell you exactly what you need to do to make sure you can eliminate the mice that are nesting in your walls. Before we lay a single trap to start to get rid of the mice, we want to determine exactly what it is and show you how to pinpoint it. So there's a key thing when you're hearing noises in your home. You have nocturnal animals, and then you have the daytime dwellers that have a very similar pattern to humans. So if you're hearing noises at night, it's either going to be a mouse or a raccoon. A raccoon sounds extremely loud, sounds like someone's walking, thumping, banging. It almost sounds like someone's breaking into your house. During the day, you have to worry about birds and squirrels. You'll hear them generally very early in the morning, throughout the day, and then it gets quiet. Sometimes you hear fast running and scratching or the actual chirping of the birds. First thing to distinguish is between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. you're dealing with a nocturnal animal, and then we're going to jump into the sound so you know exactly that it's mice. So sound number one with mice is the classic scurry and scratch. Mice have tiny razor sharp little claws. When they move across the top of your drywall when they're under the insulation, or they're climbing up the wooden studs inside your walls, it sounds like a very light, fast scratching or pitter patter. They move quickly from one side of the room to the other. The second telltale sound that you may have a mouse infestation in the walls is the persistent gnaw. There's two reasons for it. One, mice have teeth that continue to grow, so they have to chew on things like wood or other materials to keep them naturally filed so they don't get too long. The second reason can be even worse is if they're looking for a food source. And this is where they may be actually gnawing on the insulation of your wires to try to get a meal if food is very scarce. It's a rhythmic sound that is persistent for minutes at a time, and it's like a crunch, 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 or a scratch, 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 all localized in that area. The third sound that you know you have mice is if you hear the high-pitched squeaking. And if you hear this, this generally means it would be a well-established infestation and they're very comfortable where they're living. Mice naturally want to stay quiet so they don't attract predators and there's no noise for something to hear them. So why your walls? People ask us all the time, my house is spotless, I don't have any food out, there's no real nesting areas or material that mice like, but they love your walls. When they're in behind a wall or in a void, they think it's very safe. They're protected from predators, people can't get at them, and they feel very comfortable knowing that they're in that little confined space that's just theirs. The second reason is your insulation. Mice look at insulation, whether it's fiberglass insulation, blown-in insulation, recycled insulation, as the premium mattress for them. They can manipulate it, make a little nest in there, and go to any point that they want and set up shop. So they have the perfect home that they build out of the insulation in a protected area behind a wall where they can sleep, get food, and then start to breed. They're always looking for that nesting material and safe place. Once they have their little home set up, the kicker is that a single mouse can have up to 10 litters a year of 6 to 8 pups. So to put that into perspective, if a mouse gets in, sets up shop in October, by the time winter rolls around, you may have an infestation of up to 50 mice. And they just continue to breed, and they reach sexual maturity around 3 weeks, and they'll breed with each other, so it can explode. How do they actually get in the walls? And there's 3 main ways. Number 1 is from the exterior of the home, they're very good at climbing. They can go right up the brick or siding, and then tuck themselves under the soffit where it meets with the side of the home. So if there's a little gap, if a pen, pencil, or a dime can fit in, it's easy for a mouse. Their whole body will compress down and they'll tuck in there. So they gain access to your attic, there's insulation there, but if they want to, they can just continue to go down the walls. And we generally find they'll start in the attic and then work their way down the walls. The second way, also from the exterior, is if there's any entry points, and again, the size of a dime, pen, or pencil is all they need. So areas like utility lines where your gas, water, or electrical are going in, Or if there's simply a crack in the foundation or siding, they get right into the wall, into the insulation, and they find their little spot there. The third way, they'll travel around the perimeters looking for food, and then they're looking for safety. So they'll often go where plumbing, electrical, or unfinished areas in your home are, go down, in, and around, and find their way into the wall from inside of your home. So you have the exterior from the attic, exterior from a direct wall entry point, and then getting into the house and finding their way into the wall. So these three areas are the most common way that they're gonna get entry in there. So now let's jump into it. How do we get rid of these? We're gonna go through it. You're gonna break it down into 3 pieces: inspect, exclude, and eliminate. So first thing you wanna do if you hear that noise or you see activity is you want to inspect. You look for droppings. The droppings look like little black pieces of rice. One mouse will lay up to 50 droppings a day or more, so you can usually find them around. If there's a little hole or gap in an unfinished area of your home and you see droppings around there, that could be a spot where it's getting back into the wall. If you can actually see into the wall or into the insulation in the walls, you want to look for any sort of burrowing, droppings, or signs of mice that are there. And the key place, and this one you'll need a flashlight for, is go up into your attic. Usually when there's activity in the walls, you'll see activity in the attic. And because it's all open and you can see all the insulation, it's a very easy way to identify an infestation. What you look for are 2 things. One is little burrows that look about the size of a loony or a toonie going through the insulation. That's where the mice are burrowing and tunneling through. And if it's recycled insulation, sometimes you can see a little trail and it looks like somebody took a golf ball and ran it along and you can see the little trails. That is the telltale sign of mice. So now we're going to transition from the inspection because you've determined that there are mice in there and you want to continue on with that, but we're going to start to exclude. What does that mean? We're going to look for the entry points that mice are using. They don't spend their entire life just living in your walls and attic. They need to get food, they need to go out and forage around, so you want to figure out where they're doing that and how they're doing that. 2 ways. One, they've been coming into your house from areas where there's plumbing cut or unfinished walls they can access in and get food from inside the house. So eliminate any food sources that they may have access to. Things like cereal, grains, rice, any easy access for them, make sure you eliminate that so you're not drawing them in, you're not feeding them. And then the main part is on the exterior. You want to plug that hole that's allowing mice to enter from outside into your home. How do you do that? You can use spray foam, steel wool, caulking, or a combination of them. Generally, caulking and spray foam work the best because it will last the longest. The caulking will be waterproof and the steel wool stays there. When they chew at it, they don't like that feeling and they'll leave. The most common spots are going to be your utility lines, where your air conditioner, gas lines, or water lines go into the house. Check around where those pipes are and make sure that they're sealed. Also check any exhaust vents that you have. So washroom vents, kitchen vents, all around there should be sealed. And then you can take it a step further and check any of the sealing around your windows and check the weather stripping on your doors. Your garage door, any sort of man door, if they're chewed out, you want to make sure that they're sealed so no new mice from outside are entering and reinfesting your home. So now that we've got the outside locked down, we're going to jump into the elimination. And there's 2 ways to go about it and we'll break it down. 1 is using rodenticide, 2 is trapping. So let's start with rodenticide. Rodenticide is probably the least amount of effort and you can still net a great result. And rodenticide is essentially, it's mouse poison and you use them in bait stations. So the way that it works is the mice will come into these stations, feed off of the bait, and then they go off and die. Word of caution is depending where you are, there's different rodenticides and there's different laws. So you want to make sure you're using a bait that is totally legal and is going to eliminate them not right away, because you don't want them to die right in the station for 2 reasons. 1, they can connect the dots that the bait might be killing them and they may become bait avoidant. 2, if it kills them too fast, you may end up with some sort of odor from them. So check with the professional with the bait that you're using so that when they're feeding off of it and they do die, there isn't going to be any rot or smell that you need to worry about. So you want to get these stations, pick whatever bait you want to use, and get them into the areas, 1, where you know they're traveling. So inside the house, if you're seeing droppings, say under the sink in the kitchen, and the plumbing is how they're accessing the wall, you can get a bait station right under there. So when they come out to get food, they find the bait, they feed, and they'll go back in and die. The second area is obviously as close as you can get it to them. Easiest thing is to go up into your attic, place these all around, and then it's like what I like to call breakfast in bed. They feel safe in their environment. They don't need to be exposed, so they're a lot more likely to feed off of this bait because they think, great, here's a nice free lunch, and you're eliminating them. If you want to go a step further, you can even cut wall voids open, place these bait stations in, and continue to check them. And the way this works is you place these all over the place, and then start with every week, check the inside of the bait stations, and if the bait is chewed or fed off of, keep replenishing it. And then once you get to the point where it's partially gone, you can move to checking it every 2 weeks. And then when you have all of the bait that is untouched and you're not hearing any noise, you know you've eliminated the mice. Another great thing about bait stations is you can leave them in place and it will act as a great prevention. So in the event a mouse gets in, you'll have the bait and you'll be able to eliminate it before it sets a nest up and starts to breed. So if you don't want to go the rodenticide route, you can definitely use traps. It's a little bit more effort and it can take a little bit longer as you need to make sure all of them are coming to the traps, but you can still do it if you're persistent. So what you want to do is get lots of different traps and you want to get a good bait. Peanut butter is a good classic, and a good tip is don't overbait. You want to make sure you put it properly on the bait tray so you get a good immediate kill every single time, and you don't want it to heat up, especially if it's in an attic, start to melt away, and then give them a free snack on the side. Where do you want to put these? Same thing. Inside the home, anywhere where they could be accessing in the wall, you can place these there. So under the sink, in a furnace room, anywhere where they can get access into those walls. And of course, you want to get right to the source. When you do go right to the source, which means either in the attic or in the walls, there's a couple things you have to be careful about. Number one is that you want to make sure you can retrieve the trap. Because if you kill a mouse on a mouse trap and it moves off with the trap or it goes somewhere where you can't remove it, it will smell and it will smell bad. So what we generally recommend is you use something like a piece of wood, and you can even just get a screw the wooden traps in, or if you're using a T-Rex snap trap, you can use a zip tie and secure it to the wood. You can put multiple traps on one piece of wood, so it's very efficient, but it ensures that the trap will not leave with a mouse. So when it gets trapped, you can remove the wood, remove the mice, reset the traps. But you always want to have something that's a little bit heavier just to eliminate the potential of them running off with the trap, and then you're worried about chasing down a smelly mouse. Few things to compare them side by side. Rodenticide is generally going to work a lot faster. You can have multiple mice feeding all at the same time off of the bait, and you can knock those numbers down really fast. Whereas a trap, you're getting one mouse per trap. So you either need to do a lot of traps or be persistent for the long term. If you have a very heavy infestation, trapping can be a very long journey, because if they're outbreeding your trapping, you're stuck doing this for a long time. Whereas with the rodenticide, again, you could have all the mice feed in theory all at the same time and get a mass kill off very quick. The other nice part about the rodenticide is if you leave it out there and you have it for prevention, they're going to feed off the bait, be eliminated, and ideally you're not going to have any rot or smell with them. If you have a trap that's set for prevention and you get one and you're not checking it, the reason you know you're going to have one is because you're going to smell it. So both are definitely viable, but you need to be comfortable handling dead mice, be potentially ready to deal with the smell, and be very persistent and diligent with the traps. One last thing is, if you're having trouble with the traps, you may want to try different baits. If you've been using peanut butter and you know that you're hearing noise still and you're not getting them, switch it up to something like meat or something else, or like a nut, something high calorie that's going to draw them in. Here's 3 pitfalls that are the most common thing that we see. Number 1 is setting too few traps or using too little bait. Mice populations can explode, so you need to make sure you have adequate rodenticide and an adequate number of traps so you can knock those numbers down fast, especially at the beginning. So don't be chintzy on it, get as many out as possible. Number 2 is not cleaning up the environment and eliminating competitive food sources. If there's a trap with bait or rodenticide, but then there's a nice piece of bread and peanut butter, it's a shot in the dark. The mice might just pick the bread, and although you're not getting feeding on the bait or getting mice on the traps, they may still be there and they're getting your other food. So make sure you do all the cleanliness to clean that away. Make sure nuts, grains, and any sort of dry food is stored in plastic containers to eliminate the scent and make it impossible for them to actually get a free meal. The third thing is following up on your exclusion points. You do a very good job looking around and sealing stuff up, but you need to continue to do that. It's amazing when you go back around the same area, how you can find a different spot that you may have just overlooked or missed. And the second thing is with all the weather changes and everything outside, new entry points can happen. So at least once a season, minimum twice a year, you should be always checking the exterior of your home, making sure that the silicone or any caulking is still well sealed, weather stripping is solid, and no new cracks have started with houses settling or anything of that nature. So if you tried all these steps and you're still having any trouble, don't feel any shame. It sometimes can help to get a second look. Whether it's a local professional or someone else who has dealt with this in the past, get a second set of eyes. It's amazing how many little things can pop up that you may not have recognized. If you found this video helpful, we'd love it if you would subscribe. And again, any questions, toss them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And until next time.